Hello, welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. This story was submitted by Amit Campbell as a Patreon supporter. This is one of the things you get to do is submit stories for me to discuss or topics. And I thank you for supporting the show. This story is pretty horrifying. It was in the New York Times. An 8-year-old girl was raped and killed in India, and the reason for it was to basically, it's fueled religious tensions. What happened, this 8 men have been arrested in connection with the case, and the young girl was a member of a nomadic tribe that her tribe is the Karwals, and they're Muslim. And what had happened was that a group of sort of Hindu nationalists decided to rape and kill this girl to try to drive these this nomadic tribe out of their area. And what has happened then is the Hindu nationalists, the men that have been accused, and they have, that's what it sounds from this article, pretty solid corroborating evidence and eyewitness accounts that these are the men that did it. They have DNA, but the Hindu nationalists are blocking this. They don't want this. They don't want these men to go on trial. And I'll go into the specifics from the article, but this is one of the reasons why I've never been a huge fan of organized religion, because it brings this. And part of it is, I did that video that Chris Hedges about violence coming from the left. This is an example of how people can justify horrific acts against fellow human beings, and it's justified because they don't like that group. Human beings have been doing this to each other since the dawn of time. And who are we as Americans to take any sort of moral high ground when we just spent 120 million of our own dollars, 165 million total if you count the French and Brits spend on rockets into Syria. So it's, this is kind of a very difficult story to talk about because it's just so horrifying, but it just shows that the rationalization to rid a certain group gives people the insane justification to commit horrible acts. So here's what happened. This week, a mob of Hindu lawyers physically blocked police officers from entering the courthouse to file charges against the men. The officers retreated to a judge's house later in the evening to complete the paperwork. Protests and counter-protests are now spreading. On Wednesday, much of Kathua, a small town in northern India where the girl lived, was shut down by demonstrators, including dozens of Hindu women who helped block the highway and organize a hunger strike. They are against our religion, said Bimla Devi, one of the protesters. If the accused men aren't released, she said, we will burn ourselves. So let me just read you that again. These Indian Hindu women don't want these men accused because the group of nomads that the 8-year-old girl was from in her opinion, are against their religion. So she's totally okay. Sounds like this woman interviewed probably is totally okay with an 8-year-old being raped and killed, but not okay with the men being held accountable. Police officials say they have physical evidence and DNA tests linking the defendants to Asifa's, that's the girl's, death. They also say they have interviewed more than 130 witnesses who unequivocally corroborated the facts that emerged. Several prominent members of India's dominant political force, the Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, are pushing to have the case taken out of the hands of the state police, arguing that the Central Bureau of Investigation would be a better, more neutral agency to handle it. Many suspect this is an attempt to win leniency for the accused, noting the Bureau is an arm of the central government, which the Janata Party controls. Also should be noted, several of the arresting officers were Muslim. So, hey Graham, how come you're not a big religious guy? Oh, you know, raised Catholic, that awful religion, then I see this horrifying shit that's happened. I knew someone that was molested by a Catholic priest, and the Catholic priest said it was the hand of God. So people can then use religion to justify all kinds of horrifying behavior, like we have right here. That a Hindu temple is at the center of the crime makes this case even more combustible. The police say that Sanjay Ram, the temple's custodian, devised the plan as a way to terrorize the Barkawals, and that he enlisted a nephew and some friends to kidnap and kill Asifa. The police say the culprit selected Asifa simply because she was by herself and a soft target. For generations, the Barkawal nomads who drift with their herds across the plains and hills of northern India have leased pastures from Hindu farmers for their animals to graze in winter. But in recent years, some Hindus in the Kutha area have begun a campaign of abuse against the nomads. Villagers say Mr. Ram was their ringleader. His poison has been spreading, said Talib Hussain, a Barkawal leader. When I was young, I remember the fear of Sanjay Ram's name invoked in Muslim women. If they wanted to scare each other, they would take Sanjay Ram's name, since he was known to misbehave with these women. This is the thing Gandhi, who is from India, tried to prevent. These awful killings, which is why Pakistan and India split. And as Gandhi said, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. A story like this shows, to me, all the more reason why I don't want to be a part of any sort of violent resistance. You know, like Trump is so evil and the corporations are so evil that we need to take up arms, because then there's just bloodlust and mob mentality. Look what we have here, mob mentality. We're so much against Muslims that we will rape and kill an 8-year-old girl. It's insanity. I thank you for submitting this story, and Emmett Campbell, and I thank you guys for watching it. And sometimes doing this is hard. This is a hard thing to read and talk about, but I appreciate it. It needs to be talked about. I don't want to just sweep this under the rug or not talk about it because it's too uncomfortable. That's the temptation. That's my just natural human inclination. It's like, oh man, I don't want to talk about this. This is too brutal. You know? But that's just why we should talk about it. And that's why we should have conversations. I remember doing a story about the genocide that happened in Iraq with the nomadic tribe, and they said it was their neighbors that did it. It's like their biology teachers and stuff like that. So I'd like to see a better world. So I don't know. I'm going to start with just being nice to people throughout my day. That's what I'm going to do. And report stories like this. And I appreciate you guys supporting the channel and bringing stories like this to my attention, which then I bring it out here and more people get to know about it. And I don't know, be nice to one another. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to be nice. Thanks for watching.